Cervical cancer, a type of cancer that develops in a woman's cervix, is the fourth most common cancer among women globally. Experts said in 2018 alone, it caused an estimated 311,000 deaths worldwide. Research by The Lancet also reveals that more than 44 million women globally stand to develop cervical cancer between 2020 and 2069. It also warned that deaths from cervical cancer will increase a further 50% by 2040, and that many women, their families and communities will be impacted. The World Health Organization estimates that cervical cancer could be first cancer to be eliminated if 90% of girls are vaccinated against the human papillomavirus. It was therefore quite heartwarming when the federal government announced a few weeks back plans to introduce life-saving human papillomavirus vaccination to protect teenage girls against cervical cancer and other related diseases. That's our focus on this episode of Health Options with the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shaib, as my guest. Many thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah. Our complimentary segment dwells a bit on herbalism and an interesting side to it. You will get to hear from a Nigerian who's got 50 years of experience in the field of traditional medicine. It promises to be interesting, so don't miss out. This is Health Options, the program that not only tracks government policies on health, but helps you with the information you need to make informed choices about your health. With me in the studio to lead us through the topic, cervical cancer and Nigeria's vaccination drive, is Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shaib. Glad to have you on Health Options, Dr. Faisal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. You know, cancer, whatever part of the body it forms, is one disease no one wishes his enemy, his worst enemy. And here we're discussing cervical cancer. And this has to do with the women folk. Just give us an insight into cervical cancer in women.
Cervical cancer is a global phenomenon, but since we're talking mostly to Nigerians, in terms of the incidence in Nigeria, you have a situation where every year 73,000 women die annually from cancers. But out of these 73,000, a little over 12,000 of these deaths are caused by cervical cancers. So it is a serious disease. Imagine that we're losing over 12,000 of our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, our friends to a disease that is perfectly preventable. Cervical cancer, of course, occurs in different stages, but over 90% of cervical cancers are actually caused by the human papilloma virus. There are over 200 types of the human papilloma virus, but the ones that cause cervical cancer are frequently the serotype that is known as HPV-16 and HPV type 18. These are the ones that typically will cause cervical cancer. Now, what the vaccine does is prevent these viruses from causing disease, right? The vaccine fights the viruses, so it doesn't lead or progress to cervical cancer with time.
Okay, since we're talking prevention here, and it's really delightful to know that, but before even getting to what the HPV vaccine does, the male folk, has a role to play in the transmission of cervical cancer, of the virus, the human papilloma virus here, that translates to cancer. Can you shed light on how true is it?
Human papilloma virus is actually a sexually transmitted disease. So it causes cervical cancer, but it also causes other types of cancers, right? Throat cancer, head and neck cancers, perianal, disease as well. So it is absolutely true, just because it is sexually transmitted, that men do have a role in the causation of HPV disease. So the human papilloma virus is transmitted sexually, when somebody who is infected, comes in contact with somebody who isn't. So absolutely correct that men have a role in the causation of human papilloma virus and subsequently cervical cancer.
Okay, without meaning for us to deviate from the main focus, will it be out of place, or have they been factored in? I'm talking about the main folk now. Or, I mean, if you know this is it not possible to include them in the vaccination? Maybe boys.
Right. So right now we have a supply constraint. So globally, there's a supply constraint in the HPV vaccine. So you have to prioritize the female folk, but it doesn't mean that men or boys will not get the vaccines eventually. So when you look at what has happened globally, we've started first with giving the vaccine to the women, and then later the boys will get it. So like right now, we have only about 6 million doses of the vaccine available to be implemented in the phase 1 states, 16 states that will be implementing in the first phase. We're hopeful that this will be rolled out next month, October, by the first quarter of 2024. The remaining 21 states will now come on board. We project that in the next 3 to 5 years, we will have covered the females, and then we will now begin to introduce the vaccine in boys. So the boys are not left out, but you have to look at what gives you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of the epidemiology, creating herd immunity, and it makes sense from scientific studies that you start with the girls and then the boys will also have the vaccine. This is what has happened everywhere that HPV vaccine has been introduced.
Okay, so what is it like? How does it work? Is it about a vaccine that confers immunity, on one for life, or it has to be taken at intervals?
So right now we're introducing Gardasil, which is going to be a single-dose vaccine in Nigeria. It's been shown to provide long-term immunity. So in terms of how it works, there is sort of a protein, a part, the shell-like particle of the actual virus, which has been compounded into this vaccine. It is harmless. When it is injected into the body, first thing the body does is to mount a response to that particle, to that shell. And this response comes in the form of antibodies. These are what we call the soldiers of the body, the military men of the body that protect the body from any infection, right? Mm-hmm. So then the next time the body is now introduced to the actual virus, because while that immune response is launched, it also launches what we call memory cells. So it develops the ability to recognize this particular type of protein, this particular part of shell, this type of shell. So the next time the actual virus is introduced into the body, what it does is say, oh, this is the same guy that I saw, the same foreign body I saw when I was 9 to 14 years old. This is how to fight it. So the military men of the body are now deployed to destroy the actual virus. So the virus is not able to linger in the body. It is the lingering of the human papilloma virus in the body for some time that leads to changes within the cervix, and these changes now lead to cancer. So that is really how the vaccine works. So it's just like most other vaccines work. It's a question of introduce a foreign body, the body reacts, remembers that this is a foreign body, and then when the actual virus actually attacks, then it's already primed, it's already prepared, it knows how to destroy it. It destroys it, and then the individual doesn't get sick.
Okay, as an expert, since well, our focus is on younger girls, but based on what you just said now, how should one know that there's a hidden cervical cancer? Because sometimes they said, some people have talked about bleeding, irregular bleeding, abnormal bleeding. What would be your, expansion on this?
So as part of the global drive to eliminate human papilloma virus infection and cervical cancers, there's what we call the 90-70-90 targets. So 90%, the first 90% is that 90% of all girls of eligible age should get the vaccine, should have gotten the vaccine, and these targets are, have a timeline of 2030. Then up to 70% of women should have received the pap smear. So the pap smear is a test that you actually get. As a woman, it is encouraged that women should go for their pap smear. So by 25 years of age, and then another one by 35 and then 45. But principally at 25 and 45, make sure that you are able to get at least 70% of the women will have gotten their pap smear. This pap smear is the screening test that is required. So in all of this work, while we are emphasizing so much on the need for the vaccines work, they are potent, they are safe. We also, at the Federal Ministry of Health, led by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare and the Minister of State, we are promoting, the three-pronged approach. So vaccination is key, but also improving on screening. So in line with, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda for the health sector, he wants to reduce the number of women and children that are dying from preventable causes. So in reducing maternal mortality in his his manifesto around reducing maternal mortality, part of it is introducing the human papilloma virus vaccine and other interventions that will bring down the number of women that are dying from preventable causes. And in order to reduce the number of women who are dying from cervical cancer, we have to improve our screening at the primary healthcare level, the secondary healthcare level. And how do we do this? Is to make sure that every woman that comes to the primary healthcare center has access to this pap smear, at intervals, especially women who are at risk. So the pap smear is an opportunity for you to pick very early any changes in the cervix, even before you get to a situation where, like you mentioned, the woman may be bleeding, from time to time, maybe after, intercourse. But what is very important is catching these changes in the cervix very early. Right now, there are HPV, kits, test kits that are being developed and getting available that women can actually use it as a form of self, test. But for the meantime, this scaling up this pap smear is one of the ways that we can improve screening. The other third leg of the three-pronged approach is making sure that women who actually have cervical cancer are well managed, right from when it is early, while it's still in situ, to when it has reached advanced stages, making sure that they get the right kind of management that will prolong life and make it possible for them to survive it. So it's screening, it's vaccination, and then management, across that spectrum. And that is what we're now, pushing forward, that, women should go for screening, just like we talk about the need for men to also test, when they reach middle age, also test for, their PSA for prostate, cancers.
Okay. For a long time now, in fact, when I first heard that, the vaccine had made its debut in countries like Tanzania, I remember the episode I had with the wife of former governor of Kebbi State, Dr. Zainab Bagudu. We're all excited, looking forward to when it will find its way into the country. And of course, it's here, and we're all glad that it's here. The initial launch was scheduled for 25th of September. I don't know what happened. You might want to explain this. We're still trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. What's the problem?
So pretty much what has happened that led to additional weeks being added to the launch date is because a number of the states were not ready in terms of counterpart funding. So while we're trying to introduce this vaccine to the state, it's also important for us to see states taking ownership, governors taking ownership, making sure that they provide the platform for their citizens to be protected from this deadly disease, cervical cancer. So it is not enough for us to want to introduce the vaccine. We need to make sure that the states are ready, that the states, working with the federal government, have provided, correct information to the populace about the need for them to avail their young girls of this vaccine, making sure that there's coordination and collaboration with traditional leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, making sure that civil society are involved in this. In a number of states, we recognize that this had not taken a foothold, and you need to provide people with the right information so they can take an informed decision about the vaccine, so that they understand why they're taking the vaccines. We're not saying, here, take the vaccine. It is that here is a vaccine that can protect you against cervical cancer. And this is how it works, providing them with that information so they have the right knowledge to take that decision, to actually take their wards to the health facilities, to inform their wards that they'll be giving vaccination in the schools, because this is also going to be a school-based program. And then for girls that are out of school, maybe in the communities, in the market, we're also going to take the vaccines to them through outreach programs. But what was very, very critical is that the information needed to permeate all of society, so that once people have the right information, we will not have the same kind of situation that we had with COVID-19, where because people did not have the right information, there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. You will find, your neighbor who, probably is an engineer talking to you like they are suddenly a professor of public health or medicine, and they will show you all kinds of fantastic videos about how the vaccine causes magnetism, how it causes you to become electricity. So all of that is because of
for it even not to be seen as some sort of family planning for
Yes, absolutely. Yes, exactly. So we also need to recognize, just like we had with polio, right? With the polio vaccination, some 20 years ago, there were still people saying, that the polio vaccine causes infertility, right? But we've seen that all of these have been, debunked, right? Kids that have taken polio vaccine, they've gone to have, as many kids as they want. We've now been able to eradicate the wild type of the polio virus, thanks to the great work of our traditional and religious leaders and the political leadership, that we've seen in Nigeria. We want Nigerians to have the information, so that when they have the information, they can take the right decision. And whatever time is spent to educate Nigerians on the importance of vaccines and vaccinations is time well spent. So we're taking our time to make sure that the facts about the HPV vaccine is out there for every single person to have access to that information. So of course, we also know that NAFDAC, has approved this vaccine. The World Health Organization, the FDA in the US. I mean, like in places like the US where they've been using this vaccine for several years, we've seen nearly 90% drop in the number of cervical cancer cases. That's exactly what we want. We don't want to lose our sisters, our mothers, our friends, our daughters to cervical cancer. That is why we're going on this drive, and this is why the leadership provided by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very, very critical. Right, he's charged the Federal Ministry of Health, the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, that this is a priority for him, And this is why he wants Nigerians to get this vaccine that will prevent needless deaths from a disease that is perfectly preventable.
So thank you so much, Dr. Faisal Shaib, for coming on Health Options and enlightening Nigerians about the cervical cancer vaccine, or if you want to call it, the human papillomavirus vaccine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Let's now go over to our Nature Scanner for some expose from our guest, whom I simply refer to as Baba, a 95-year-old with 50 years experience in herbalism, a component of traditional medicine practice. I'm honored and privileged to introduce Chief Adewumi Raimi Ishola as our guest on this segment. Baba, thanks for coming on Health Options.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
Okay, so, you know, I'm always so glad when I have an older person like you, you know, if I have the privilege of meeting an older, because I know that people like you are usually embodiment of knowledge.
Yes,
and the one we're talking about is the knowledge of herbal medicine.
Herbal medicine.
And we know that the whole world, it's been said that every nation should harness and maximize the potential of its herbal medicine endowments. And we know that Nigeria is richly blessed. Start by telling us why herbal medicine is important, and for Africans, why we must accord herbal medicine the respect it deserves, and reposition it for the benefit of the populace, for wealth creation and for health purposes.
Herbal medicine in the country supposed to be of very important and at large, that every one of us will involve, because it takes a lot of money outside of the country. We in Nigeria, we don't know the value of what we have. All this leaf that is here is for healing, is to protect for our people. And then in all aspects of herbal medicine, we have different type of area. Woman area, children area, old and adult area. We have it. But we believe in this what's so called brought for us from overseas, from India, from America, from where, whereas all what they are using is here. And the ingredient we are using here, the leaf I put down here, is more valuable than what they get there, because their land is full of salt. And when the salt is too much in the land, the leaf will not work accordingly. And then another one is, this leaf you see, it contains 100% of chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is what we are using. With herbal medicine, everything is possible to be done. If the government can help us, created awareness, created the way money to, because as for me now, I don't have any instrument to produce all these things. This is what I produce here. It's almost 7 years. Different form, which is working, is what I'm using.
Let's quickly go through some of the species you have here.
Now, like this is what they call coca that they use to, we call it oshe.
Okay.
Coca. There's nothing you cannot use it for. To protect you, to give you, if you have liver problem, if you get the bark of this leaf, of this tree, and pound it with other, you will get relief.
Kuka that's the name in Hausa. I'm trying to recall the name in English.
We call it Oshe.
In Yoruba.
Oshe, Igi Oshe.
Okay, so I know it's Kuka in Hausa. I'm trying to remember the name in English now.
This one, this is cotton wool.
Cotton wool, cotton leaf.
Cotton leaf.
Cotton leaf.
Wool.
Okay.
You understand? Instead of this leaf you see, you can use it for malaria when you had another something. as we go without going anything. At a high temperature, if you have it, you cook it and drink it. There's still leaf to add with it.
This cotton leaf, eh?
This cotton leaf.
Okay.
Joy, unleash taste.
That does it on this episode of Health Options. You can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of this and other episodes of the program. My name is Rabi Abdullah. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Hope to see you again.